unique. I love him dearly, but my brother is kind of my motivation to do what I do. I got my first degree because of him, and my first degree is in criminology, and I wanted to understand kind of the psychology of crime, the study of crime, why people commit crime, why two people from the same background, the same upbringing, just do things so differently. And I have, yeah, three younger sisters. That's from my mum's side.
Yeah.
My dad, I've got an older brother who I'm really close to. They live in the States. They live in Florida.
Yeah.
And I've got some other siblings that I probably don't know, if I'm being honest, by my dad's side.
Have you got children yourself?
Sorry, I didn't.
Have you got children yourself?
Oh yes, I've got one beautiful, bubbly, firm, articulate young lady that is 14 going on 41, that keeps me on my toes, that made me have to come face to face with my emotions, that taught me what love is, patience, compassion. She brought the mirror of me to my face, and I am loving and enjoying the journey, as frustrating as it is.
I got one upstairs, so yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're going through. How has COVID been for you guys? Lockdown, the whole experience.
So I think it was harder for her than it was for me, because I am the kind of person that can stay in my house for extended periods. I can just read and watch TV and just have duvet days. For her, she had patterns of of highs, and I noticed that about every 8 to 9 days, she would have a complete meltdown, and I just allowed her to have her meltdown. I still go into work, probably 1 day a week. I have to go in if there's kind of emergency, if we can't get a hold of a client, depending on what, like I was in work last week because a client didn't have any milk for the baby and she couldn't source any. I went and delivered. She didn't have the money for it, so I had to deliver that to her. So, but with distance, and I have to put on everything, the mask and everything. So it hasn't been. It's been okay. It's been challenging because it's quite diff. I work from home some days. But having to work from home most days, where you do everything in one space, is quite difficult. So it's trying to make that kind of separation of and still have routine. But it's, for me, I have just been patient with myself. It is something that I've never experienced, and I'm going through something new, and my child is experiencing something that she's never experienced. So it's patience for me. It's just patience. But it's been really fantastic in that I've gotten to see some different sides of her, and I think she's gotten to see the fun side of her mum, because usually she just gets, have you done your homework? Go to bed, give me the phone, because you're on that hamster wheel. You get to work, you get home, I drop her to the station, and you just don't have that time. So she gets the part of me that's just like rigid. So I think throughout this period, she's seen different sides of me, because we laugh, we joke. I tend to hide in places in the house just to frighten her to see how she.
I need to try that. Maybe I'll get some laughs out of my teenager. I tell you, she'll go mad if I scare her.
Or until she's in the bathroom and coming out, and I just stand at the door, and she opens the door, she's like, no!
That is too bad. That is too bad. I mean, it's good to see that you've been managing the lockdown as you've been managing it. And when you said something, it really impressed me to say that you have been having patience with yourself. I haven't done so well on that. I'm like, come on, you should be doing better than this now. And I have a routine, and I am doing all right. But the patience bit, I think I need to learn how to adopt that. So I actually one time said, please don't let this be over yet, because I haven't learned enough in this time. And so I actually that's one foot I have to go forward with, is patience with myself,
Mm-hmm.
is having that patience. So I will take that from you. Right now, you know, for the past 10, 11, 12 days, we have seen civil unrest in the USA as a result of the murder of George Floyd, and then some of that spilling over into the UK and to other countries around the world. How has that affected you, especially as a Black woman? For me, I know it's kind of unearthed some old traumas, and just made me want to have more fresh, open, honest dialogues. And knowing that also that we're believers and that we're Christians, how does justice for all lead our faith? Do you know what I mean? So what has that experience done to you and for you?
I think it's just kind of highlighted the injustice and kind of the disdain they have for Black people just wanting to be seen as a person. Because for you to handle somebody, to take someone's life, to murder someone in that way, you have dehumanized them in some fashion. You do not see them as human. So I think it brings to the forefront that kind of that ideology that someone sees me and I'm not human to them. It makes me think about the world that my daughter has to grow up in, and how am I equipping her enough for this? And in terms of even from a religious perspective, I just always thought that Jesus is about social justice. And it was quite frustrating to me to see the divide in the religious sector, in terms of, okay, no, we should kind of just mind our own business and allow that to play out. And some people wanted to do something but didn't know what to do. And I just felt like it's difficult for some churches. It's difficult for them to act because what's happening on the outside is what's happening on the inside for them. So you have the segregation, you have white churches, you don't have equality for women in the churches. You are not doing, in some ways, they are not doing the basic things that needs to be done. So you somewhat can't criticize what is happening. And a lot of them, and even some people I've spoken to, they are so heavenly minded that they are useless on the earth. So it's their take is, oh well, we live in a sinful world, and things will just need to play out. And for me, I see things differently. I see that the church should be at the forefront of social injustices. I see that the church should be out there and having a voice and opening the dialogue and being that safe place, being that place of safety. But I think they, like the government, they appear to have a long way to go, because they too are baffled. Because the same, well, if we're being honest, we have this issue around gay people as if it's the only thing, because it's the outward sin, and we have this issue around women getting pregnant, and she's this fellowship and the man is in this fellowship. So we have those kind of inequalities, whether we want to address them or not. So it's going to be hard for us sometimes to address what's going on in the wider world.
I think that this is shining the light on everything that we know as institutions. Do you know what I mean? Even the very place that we belong to, we worship, it's shining the light on everything. And I don't see it as a negative thing. It's lifting up the rug. It's shining the lights in the places where it should have been shone. And it's like, listen, we have to wake up and we have to know why we're here. When you spoke about the fact that a lot of people are so heavenly minded that they're like, oh, this is not our issue. When this is why we're here, is to ensure that justice and righteousness is at the forefront. That justice is lifting up someone to the level that we think we are at, or we should be at. Justice is putting somebody first. Justice is saying, you know what, I know your pain and I'm willing to take on this fight with you as if it was my own. And that is the mission that Christ came to give. So, you know, I know it's something good. It's something which is...
It's something good. I think it lends itself for change. It lends itself for growth.
Yeah.
And anything that lends itself for that, then it can be harnessed for good.
Yes, it can. Going on to the topic now, the first question I wanted to ask you is, what do you wish women, maybe older women obviously, had told you? Because there's lots of things that I've gone through in my life, and I think, why didn't someone just sit down and tell me so I could have taken the shortcut? Why are they telling me to go down the A40 when I could have gone the back routes and got there in half an hour rather than 2 hours? Do you know what I mean? What do you wish that women who have gone before you had told you?
I think I would have benefited from just being told that decisions are going to be made that are going to affect my life, that is going to cause me pain and trauma, that I will probably spend a lot of my adult life trying to undo. However, those decisions really had nothing to do with me. Those had to do with the issues those people were facing. So if my parent made a decision that affected me, my parent simply was making a decision based on the information they had at that time, and they felt they were doing the best thing.
Can you give me a small, can you just break that down a little bit more? Give me a small example of that. Not something too personal, but a small example of that.
Okay, so I think, might be, for a lot of children, their parents left them in the Caribbean and migrated. And it's traumatic. It's traumatic because when you do get back and see, when you reunite, that's the word I'm looking for. When you reunite again, that bond is somewhat damaged, and they want to pick up where they left off, but the trauma is so deep that it hinders. If we were to understand at that point that it's not going to lessen the trauma, but you have to understand that decision was not made to hurt you. Decision was made with the intention of getting you a better life. That decision was made with all the information that they had at the time, which was going abroad would give them a better life for themselves and their children. And it probably wasn't thought out in the way that the things we want to attach to it are not there. It's just what we want that we attach things to it for it to make sense for us to continue. But we don't need to attach those things. We just need to know that they made a decision that they thought was best for them.
I spoke to 2 elders in my family today who spoke about some of this. And when I do speak to, when I have spoken to older women or even elders regarding this subject, hold on for a minute. I think they said my Bluetooth is making this echo. Let me just turn it off 1 minute. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah.
I heard that my Bluetooth was echoing, something like that. The pain that the children who were left in the Caribbean feel is real. But maybe the understanding is limited.
Exactly.
And a conversation wasn't had to say,
no,
we're going there, set up life, but we're coming back for you as soon as we set up. And most parents did go back for their children and bring them later, but because there was it was maybe their formative years,
exactly,
gap, sometimes they were mistreated when they were left behind, then they are issues which are carried through. So
and you are asking
that there's an explanation for that.
Yeah, and sometimes what you're asking for is, if you think about our parents' generation, you're asking for an emotional maturity and an emotional intelligence to have certain conversations that they may not have. They I don't want to say fully developed, but they sometimes don't have, if I'm being honest, they don't have it, and they don't know how to have that dialogue. And even when they reunite, they don't have those dialogue to say what their experiences were, because their experience here weren't better either.
Yeah. So it's about them having that emotional intelligence and maturity to have the conversation.
Exactly.
So that's what you wish you would have heard.
I think learning very early on in life that some decisions are going to affect you, but they're not made because someone was set in some cases, some people were set, but a lot of the time it's not set out to cause you harm. It's just the information that people have at the time, they use that to make the decision.
Yes. I think that's fair, and I think that will cause a lot of unity back in families.
Exactly.
I mean? Where it's like, I understood what you did, Mum. You weren't trying to hurt me, because I'm the oldest child in my family. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't get a relationship like my little sister, my mum. And then I realized, but I was the one who was the helper. I was the oldest. I was the one who had my mum with the little ones. Do you know what I mean? And I had to say to myself, she did the best of what she had. And that makes me walk a little bit lighter. Do you see what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't have that heavy load. Somebody said here, Kashoba, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. It says, they wish that they had heard things from the elders, like things like hair care. You see, that cracks me up, because I can just remember my granny on a good day just flinging on the wig. That wig was at the top of the wardrobe. There was about 3 of them on special occasions. So hair care, that was out the window. Self-love, we're just coming into that. I think in this new generation, we're just learning how to love ourselves, how to love our hair, how to love our skin. So I think that, again, as you said earlier, Philippa, would be asking a lot of them. Sadly, saying I love you, same kind of thing. It's emotional intelligence, it's ability to be open. They said it in their own way. Having a relationship with your parents and being open to them, instead of holding things in, and seeking information elsewhere. I think a lot of people do that. They go to church and say, oh, I got my church mummy. Or I got my mummy down the road. It's like, no, you got your mummy at home, but you guys haven't broken that barrier yet. Kashoba goes on to say, and parents being honest, and when we ask questions, instead of portraying themselves as saints, I think that's usually like my grandparents' age.
And it's difficult.
It was like my gran would have been born into church. At one time she saw me with ripped jeans and she said, I'm going to get raped because my knees were out. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if anyone's attracted to my knees, but you know what I mean? I don't think that's the case. But what it is, their standards were different. So to reveal anything about themselves, like, you know, back in Jamaica or back in Ghana or wherever I was doing this, that, and the other, had this much man, that would destroy their integrity. I'm now understanding that you didn't have the capacity.
Exactly.
Even tell us that story.
Exactly. And they're from a culture where also someone says for your parents to be honest with you. They are from a culture where you don't question that your parents, and your parents don't actually owe you, and they don't feel they owe you an explanation. They don't, and in answering some questions, what you don't realize is you're triggering pain for them, because in a lot of the times when they make those decisions that causes trauma in your life, they were trying to undo a cycle. They didn't even realize it, but they were trying to undo a cycle. They were trying to create a completely new narrative, a new script to make life different for you. But they did it in a different way, and they didn't have the words to say, to kind of explain it to us.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Teresa says, I think that we are more aware as parents now and discussing with our children.
Definitely. So for me, the conversations I have with my daughter and the conversations I have with my mom at the different ages. So at a very young age, I kind of built in certain kind of things between myself and my daughter. So I created a space for her to be able to talk to me about anything. I think between in the ages of about maybe about once she could talk from about 3 until she got to secondary school. We had this thing that I call the magic carpet. And on the magic carpet, she could say, "Mommy, I need a magic carpet moment." And on the magic carpet, I suspend judgment, I suspend criticism, I suspend kind of being a parent. And I cannot take something that was spoken on the magic carpet and talk to her again about it outside of it. So she would come to me and she would say, "Can we have a magic carpet moment?" And there were times where I would have to say, "Hold on 1 minute, because I just have to mentally prepare for what I am going to hear, because I am having to just listen to her, and hear her. In some, if she wants advice, I will say, "Do you want me to give you advice, or did you just want me to know that?" There are some cases where she said, "No, I just needed you to know." And I'm like, "Okay, I know." And if she wants advice, I said, "Well, okay, this is what I think." And I share my experiences with her age appropriately.
Yeah.
According to her age.
Yeah.
She rarely uses the magic carpet now.
I thought it's too late for me to use the magic carpet for the 7-year-old.
No, she rarely uses it now. I think she stopped using it. She's year 9 now, and I think she stopped using it somewhere between year 7 and towards year 8. She just says what she feels like now, because she doesn't. I don't think she thinks she needs that, because I think the foundation to be able to talk to me about something is there.
It's there. I love that. I totally love that. Do you know what? The internet has many crazy stuff on it. And there was an article that spoke about 36 things every woman should know. I'm going to mention 10 of those. I just want your response. Number 1, you will be surprised to know, is that a woman should know how to cook an egg.
An egg? I suppose it does have nutritional value. And
I suppose it's quite easy to cook an egg, right? You just drop it in the water.
And it's slow releasing, so it has protein, so it will give you energy. I'm not really certain why an egg but maybe there's something to the egg. But yes,
I forgot to say
there's no harm in learning to cook an egg.
There's no harm in learning to cook an egg, but I forgot to say, by the time she turns 30.
By the time
you should know how to cook an egg by the time.
Yeah, that's called basic life skills. That's basic life skills that you need.
So, I know we are like a generation maybe ahead, but I just think that is standard. Like, you should just know.
That's just basic life skills.
Drop the egg in the water. That's all. Somebody says here, the only thing my husband can do, cannot take that away. At least he can cook an egg.
Exactly.
All right. So,
but then also, can I just say, it doesn't make you any less of a woman if you don't know how to.
You don't know how to cook an egg.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
I think you're going to put that as a caveat for every single point that this
it doesn't. We have to start learning to understand what defines us.
Yeah.
And you cannot allow society to define you.
Yes.
You define yourself. And I think even because some people will think about, okay, so she's learning to cook. As someone say, their husband knows how to cook because your husband needs to know, you need to feed your husband. But
she won't have one.
What about just you need to feed yourself?
Maybe he's allergic to eggs. Maybe she don't like eggs.
Exactly.
I mean, I know how to cook them, but I don't like them. Do you know? And I don't like cooking them, but I know how to cook an egg. But it doesn't define me as a woman.
It doesn't define you.
This is what this site said. It also said to sew on a fallen button. I'm going to move through them. It says here to set up a budget and stick to it.
Yeah. Yes.
That's important.
To be able to set a budget, no, you need to learn that quite early in terms of budgeting in your finances, because finances is an integral part of how you function in society. So you need that's something you need to learn for yourself, because then you will always mismanage your money, and you probably will be in a lot of debt, which will probably cause you mental stress, which leads to mental health issue. It's a rolling effect.
Yeah.
So basic understanding of your finances is needed.
Okay, it says here to change a tire.
Sorry,
you know, I've just
no,
called AA,
I can't change it. I can't. So it would be great if I know, but hello, yeah, we're in 2020. I can call AA.
I call AA, RAC, Curtis, Curtis's dad. Some man, come and help me.
Exactly.
Whoever knows, but I've never changed a tire.
And
I think maybe it would be good to know, but I've never changed a tire.
No, I've never changed a tire.
It says here, know when to apologize.
Yes, yes. I think that is about knowing oneself and knowing how your engagement has impacted on someone, and just to say sorry. It helps relationship. Yeah. It builds foundation for growth, and it builds for positive relationship. So saying sorry, yeah, I think we need to learn to do that.
We need to learn. It says here, we need to recognize when we have the men's. PMT, PMS. Auntie Redding's coming to visit you and she's driving me nuts. We need to recognize when we have PMS.
I think that's
the road to the red.
In order to recognize that about your PMS, it's about I think kind of being in one with your body. It's about understanding your body, and as a female, it's yours. So I think, yes, you don't necessarily need to know when about PMS, but you need to have some basic understanding about your body. You need to have some, like I will say to some of the young people that I work with sometimes, I said, do you know when you're getting angry? That is a basic understanding of your body. I said, so for me, when I'm getting angry, my ears literally get red. Yeah. My mouth get dry. That's me understanding my body, and that's me knowing that actually I think I need to remove myself from this situation before because I'm not processing what's happening here, because my anger is just building and building. So it's more about, rather than understanding PMS, it's more about understanding your body.
Okay, lovely. Spot quality clothes that last forever. Identify fakes that will be ruined after one wash.
Yeah, so yes. But we live in a society where people think things are quite disposable. So what was quality 10 years ago is not quality. It may not even be quality now. Yeah. So how does one recognize what's quality? I think it's more around have some staple pieces in your wardrobe, and work around that, and don't purchase unnecessarily. So don't buy things to fill a void. You cannot fill a void with materialistic things in the same way you can't fill a void with a man either. You cannot buying the clothes and buying the things, it won't make you feel any more loved. It's a 30-second endorphin rush where you feel happy and then it's gone. So you will have to repeat that over and over again. Yeah. Come to terms with what is it I need to address. What is this speaking to when I make these purchases, and then address that instead. Just whatever you need to. I think one of the things that we do need to know is that you don't need to chase love. You are love. Yeah. You are love. Yeah. So you can build on top of it, but you cannot get things to make you feel any more love. You are simply just love. You are love. You are created by love. Some of us are created out of love, and your mere existence tells you that it echoes love. Your mere existence.
Yeah. I'm gonna do one more out of that list, and it says here, by the time you're 30 and a woman, you should know that you can identify the negativity in your life and leave it behind.
Yeah, because that's somewhat protecting your mental health. That's protecting your mental states. That's understanding what is for you and what is not for you. That is understanding on your journey what needs to be static and what is fluid. Some things are needed at a particular time. That is understanding what is for season and when that season has ended, and being grateful for what it has brought and leaving it there in peace.
I love that. It's for me, it's mine. If it's not for
Exactly.
me, leave it alone.
No.
And move
No.
on in peace. So then going on to that, moving on through that, I want you to give me 3 things only, what you feel that women need to know. Start with, you may have 3 already. Start with your 1, build up to it, and let us understand why you have chosen the 3 you've chosen.
Impact, my first one is impact. Intention and impact don't always align.
Say that again.
Intention and impact don't always align.
Now you need to explain that.
So a lot of the times we go in even to have a basic conversation with someone about something that has been done, maybe to us, and we have an intention in mind. So my intention is to get this person to understand how I feel. The impact of that conversation may be so more far-reaching than what your intentions were. So sometimes we have to think about, okay, we already know what our intentions are, but what impact can this have? What is the impact of this? Before we enter into certain things, what is the impact of this? I know this is my intention, but what is the impact? What would the impact be?
Can you play that out in a real life scenario so we can see it? That's how my brain works. Let me see it.
So even like gossiping, you decide someone has done something to you, and you start talking about them to someone else without even going to them and giving them the opportunity to explain their own intentions. Now, the impact of you having that conversation with someone may lead to that person even being ostracized. The impact is you have painted this person in a light around your narrative without even talking to them, without even understanding what their intentions are. The impact is you may have you've tarnished someone's reputation. That was not your intention, but that is the impact of your action.
So can we slow down that process?
I think we can slow down that process if we think about both. If we think about both, okay, your intention, what is the impact that it may have? And you also need to understand that how someone views your intention will dictate how that conversation goes. Because if I think your intention towards me isn't pure, I'm not going to really listen to you, and it may have no impact on me. So a classic example, even in church, her skirt is too short. The intention is we want to uphold the standards. What is the impact on that young lady when you go over to her and say, couldn't you have worn something differently? Don't you think you're disgracing the house of God? What do you think your impact is going to be on her confidence, on her self-esteem, on her view of church or church people?
So if you had to put it in layman's terms, would it sound like think before you speak?
Yeah.
And recognize that what you say can have consequences.
Yeah. Impact is very similar to consequences. So think about it. What you can play out varying scenarios in your head.
Give me how you said it again. In impact.
In intention and impact don't always align.
Okay. And
So
you would let women know that.
So yes. Yeah.
How
No, I was just reading someone's comment and said, we're assuming that we are gossiping about something negative. Does it work the other way around? But I think if even if you say you're gossiping in something that's positive, you don't know how the person that you're gossiping with is going to take that.
gossiping is never positive though.
No, it's never.
Yeah.
I don't know about positive gossiping.
Yeah.
No, we shouldn't be gossiping first. No, we shouldn't.
So going back to your point, you're saying intention. This is what you
And
would say, and what women need to know, that intention and impact do not always align.
No, they don't. And we just need to be mindful of that.
So be mindful about what comes out of here and how it lands.
Yes. Yeah. Even with our actions, because the intentions behind our actions sometimes it may be pure, but the impact on the other person, it may be negative.
I am seeing, and I didn't copy and paste it. I wrote my own version. There is something going on around online. I am a black woman and I don't tear down other black women, blah, 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 blah. I wrote my own version to it because that's just the way I am. And I think it made me think about what is considered as tearing down. Because you could have the intention to say, actually, I wish her skirt was longer so the men wouldn't look up it when she was bending down in the aisle. But the impact, you have embarrassed somebody, you've belittled them, and you've made them feel small. So because it does get me thinking about how I treat other image bearers, and not only black women, because I changed it to black women and image bearers, other image bearers, that's the whole planet, how we treat others. And yet again, I'm getting from your statement, which was so beautifully put, intention and impact don't always align. Be careful what you say and how it lands and the effect it has after that. So
exactly.
That is the first thing that you would say to a woman. How do they put that in? How do you practice that? Because it looks beautiful on paper, and we make it sound great, but in practice, if it is somebody, I don't know, you've got a friend who is, I don't know, I can't think of a scenario.
Okay, so the thing is, how one of the ways we practice, you can think about how you practice is have you earned the right? Have you earned the right? So if we're going back to talking to the lady about her skirt, there might be a story behind her skirt. She may not have anything else, but have you earned the right to that story? Have you earned the right to have the conversation that you want to have, knowing that somewhere in that conversation, that person will need to be emotionally vulnerable? Have you earned that right to that person's emotional vulnerability?
Maybe not. Half of the time, no.
Often, so I think if you haven't, then you might want to think about how you're going to have that conversation, because there are some conversations that take on life of its own, and it gives you access to. You will need to have access to other parts of people. So there's this kind of theory. I think the guy's called Erwin Goffman, and he says life is like a stage. Life is a performance, a theoretical performance. And with like every performance, you have the audience. Some people are simply the audience. They only get to see the performance that you've put together, the complete act. So that's Instagram. That's Instagram for you. So what we see on Instagram is what people allow us to see.
Yeah.
And then you have backstage. Some people have a pass to go backstage. So then they get to see the running of the daily life and what needs to go into it. While other people are allowed in the changing room. So they get to have access to you before the calm, before the storm. They get to have access to you when you're relaxed. They get to have access to you when you are not in a performance mode, when you're just being you. Now, there's another part of the changing room. Some people get to have access to you when all the mask is gone. You've taken off the costume, you've taken off everything.
And you're sitting on the toilet waiting for number 2 to come out. That's real access.
Yeah. So that is kind of life. There is different parts of you that people get access to, and that has to be earned. So sometimes in wanting to have dialogue with people, you already know what access you have to that person.
Yeah.
So please don't try to get into my dressing room when really you are an audience member.
Wow.
You're an audience member, and you have not, and you have not even earned the right to backstage, but you want to come into my dressing room.
There's levels.
There's levels. There are levels.
And then knowing your level is how you navigate your intention and impact. Exactly. So yes. If I'm in the audience, I can't have a toilet conversation with you.
No. And people, it's almost like people, they see you on Instagram and they follow you and they read a couple of posts, and then and I see people get so possessive in the comment section, and they want to kind of tell you the narrative about your own life.
Yeah.
And someone says boundaries, yes. Yeah. And there's a lack of boundaries, but it's a lack of boundaries on their part, and it's a lack of understanding at the different levels. Now, they like yourself, I will, if I put up a post or something, I can call you and say, Juanita, this is what this is about, because you have access. You have earned that access.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to earn their access to people. And even some of them, you even if you earn it, even if you earn to come backstage, which means I can say, actually, I'm not really feeling that great today. You haven't earned the right to see me without all my garments, because you probably will not be able to manage me at my most vulnerable state.
Whoa, hold on there. We got 29 seconds. We are going out and we are coming back in. Please join us back again, guys. I want you to finish off this point and give us your other 2 points. But stay with us, guys, because you need to hear what women need to know for Philippa to finish this point.
Get careful of the power switch here.
Which power switch?
It's on here. It's here. Yeah.
Okay. We are back and we are waiting for Philippa to rejoin us to finish what she had started. Oh, she's joined. Okay. So if she's joined, there we go. It's getting better. Voice is gone. It's getting better. Thank you. I had to change phones, because said with my volume that he was getting messages that the volume was a bit checked. So we are back on it. So you were talking about, I'm spitting all over myself, intention and impact don't always align. In short, what we were saying is that you have to be careful what comes out and how it lands and who it lands on and how much access you have to that person to even be able to have such a conversation. So that women should know. And I think it sounds like a Solomon's proverb. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Someone ended by saying, I think when we're that like classic people in church asking you, when are you going to have your next child, or when are you going to get married? But you can't ask them when. Why is your husband living abroad? But I think it's boundaries. It is boundaries. People lack boundaries and don't understand that they don't have access to every part of you. They're like what you said, there are levels, and you simply don't have access to it. And some of the reasons you don't have access is because you don't have the emotional maturity to be able to manage me while I'm in a vulnerable state. You don't have the emotion, you don't have the emotional intelligence to guide me or pour into me when I require that.
Before I read Rex's comment, I just wanted to say that I suppose with this new age and the internet and our life lived out on social media, that I think, as you said earlier, that people do feel that they have access. They're in the audience and they could be in the toilet with you at the same time. So I think that's where we've got it blurred. And I think if we've given that message to women, I think what it does is it creates boundaries. It allows you to be exclusive, and privacy is okay. Do you know what I mean? Rex says here, regarding access, does this mean that you cannot and should not correct someone in love if you don't know them? That's interesting.
Do you know what? I always find when someone say that, I'm going to correct you in love. So love is a reciprocal thing. So are you correcting me in love and am I feeling that love? Do I know you love me? Because if I know you love me, that will sit differently. But where is that? Because that love has to be both ways. And I always find people say that, but the person they're correcting knows nothing of that love, has never experienced that love from you.
Yeah.
So we perhaps we need to clarify that. And that's the thing about even understanding the different levels. If you're saying, if my friend, I've got really, really good girlfriends, I trust them. So if they are correcting me, I already know where that is coming from because I have felt that, I've experienced that. So they have earned that right. So I think you have to examine that, because if you're saying you're correcting someone out of love, do they know you love them?
Someone says here, relationship before correction, and I think that even the older generation, the women would have saved a lot of heartache if they had had relationships with us before correction, because once the thing landed wrong, then we didn't want to hear anything else. Do you see what I mean? And that's unfortunate, because they had some good stuff to say, but because that first encounter landed wrong, then we weren't open to the rest. You were telling me about Rex spoke about it and said he loved the analogy of the stage, of the performance, and of the different spaces in that performance. In terms of that, where would you have to be for your intention and impact to align in a conversation with somebody? Where would you have to be on that whole thing?
It really depends on what the conversation you're going to have. And I think that's what. So if you're coming to me to say, your tights rip, you're an audience member, that is fine. If you're coming to me as one of the person in the comments said, to say, when are you having your next child? That's kind of a dressing room conversation. Have you earned that? Because that kind of conversation may have a story, and you have not earned the right. You don't know if I'm having trouble having children. You don't know if I've had miscarriages. You really don't know the struggle that is around me having children. So really, you shouldn't really be asking me that. Because the fact that you have to ask me tells me you don't have a relationship with me. Because we ask such very personal questions and believing it is our right to ask that, but you haven't earned the right to ask me that. You haven't earned the right even for an answer, for a response.
Yeah. I think what you're saying and what I'm pulling out of this is that, and I'm speaking about the body of Christ, that we could do with a lot more real relationships.
Exactly.
Especially real relationships with our elder women. So
Exactly.
they could be in the dressing room with us and we can have dressing
Exactly.
room conversations. There was one woman that I knew in church. You could have dressing room conversations with her because she was just straight talking.
Exactly.
She's still alive, praise God, and she's blind. I think she's in her 80s. And I walked into the toilet with her talking to my sister-in-law. She didn't know who had come in the toilet, who had gone, but I made it known that I was there as well. And she's got a tense grip. She just grip your arm and squeeze the life out of you. By the time she finished with your arm is blue. But she would squeeze it and say, love God! You know what I mean? And always encourage us to love the Lord. But then one thing she said to us, and it was about sexual relationships with her husband. She says, make sure, she said it in a Jamaican accent, make sure you cover with the linen. That we cover with the blanket, because the angels are watching. You know what I mean? She earned the right to have, I thought it was ludicrous what she was saying. Like,
no, but what you did was,
see for a bed sheet. Do you know what I mean? Or like they're interested. She earned the right for me.
Because she invited you into her space.
She did.
By telling you that, she took you backstage with her.
Yes, she did.
So and I think even within that, because we feel things from people. We know, there is a caring, there is something caring about her. You've experienced that.
Yes.
So she's allowed to do that. You have people that you've never really had other than saying, hi, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon. And they simply want to have some very intimate conversations with you that they haven't earned the right to. And they don't know what the impact of those conversations will be, because they can open something, because you can say something to someone and that have ramification for a long period, and you're not there to pick up the pieces. You're not even aware of that is happening.
So in short, if you've just joined us, we are talking about what women need to know. And Philippa's first point of what she believed women needed to know was that intention and impact do not always align. Now, Philippa has a way with words, so in short, I would put it as, be careful what comes out your mouth and how it lands, because the repercussions could be great. So that's the first thing that she would say to women. She gave an analogy of a stage and said that there was, even maybe you could have the ticket office, Philippa.
Exactly.
The ticket office, you got the auditorium, you got the stage, you got the backstage, you got the dressing room, and I said you even got the toilet. Right?
Yeah.
And these are levels of relationships of what we have. And you can't be at the ticket office speaking to the person in the toilet. You have to have a close relationship with them in order for the intention of your conversation to have a positive impact. So that's what she's saying to us women out there. Yeah. Can you give me your second point, please?
Set boundaries. My second point leads on from my first one. Set boundaries. No is a complete sentence. When you say no, you don't need to explain, because you are teaching that person that what you've said isn't enough.
Do you know, growing up, I always thought no was rude. That you couldn't just leave it with no. You had to go, no, but no.
No, you don't need to give an explanation, and you have to learn to be comfortable with that as well. You have to learn to be comfortable. You have to set boundaries. Sometimes I say to the parents that I work with, and to them they think I'm being quite harsh. I said you have to be prepared sometimes to lose your child to gain some control. So when I say lose your child, I don't mean like dying. I mean like the relationship falling apart completely. They probably want to leave home and things like that. For you to be able for them to understand that what the boundaries that are there.
Keep talking, I'm still here. I'm trying to fix this light. It's blind.
Because if you set boundaries and you start giving explanation for your boundaries, you allow further conversation to negotiate your boundaries.
Mm.
And you have to know when that it is non-negotiable. So, okay, I was coming on here and I was looking, I said, oh, I got very thin eyebrows. So I said to my daughter, I couldn't find my eyebrow pencil and I know it's in her room. So
Oh
I said,
yes, I asked mine to sort me out as well. Up to now, she ain't.
She said no, and I said, can I borrow your eyebrow pencil? And she said no, because it's almost finished. Even though I'm sure, I'm certain I paid for the eyebrow pencil.
And even though we're in lockdown.
Exactly. She said, no, it's almost finished and there's nothing wrong with your eyebrows. I said, okay, fine. I was very tempted to say, you're the child, give me the eyebrow pencil, give me it. But then I said, no, what will I be teaching her about her no? Her no is a no. And I am the first person to reinforce that. That is her things, that is her space, and she has said no. So we need to be taught to set boundaries from very, very early and stick to them.
Yes. Give me an example of setting a boundary. In what scenario would you set a boundary?
So we have different boundaries. We have boundaries at work. We have boundaries at home. We have boundaries with our children. Even the boundaries at church in the questions that some people think they have the right to ask you. You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer. In conversations, actually, I am not going to talk to you if you're raising your voice. I'm not having the conversation with you if you're raising your voice. I am not having the conversation with you if you're using profanities. I am not talking to you if you are going to demean or belittle me. And that's it. End of. We don't need to talk about it. We don't need to have any further conversation unless the conversation that we're going to have moving forward, I am not going to be belittled or demeaned. That's it. End of.
It's a hard concept for me to get my head around. I mean, I'm good at saying no now as an ... but I'm thinking of me back as a teenager. Saying no was, it wasn't easy. It always felt like it had to be followed off with a ... But okay.
I think I had to learn some hard lessons. I had to learn some hard life lessons.
So you had to learn that.
No means no. And to say, actually, these are my boundaries, and I had to learn what happens when I allow my boundaries to be malleable, so people move them as they see fit, because then they no longer respect you, and they no longer hear you, because they're not certain which is movable and which is not movable. So you're teaching them how to treat you. You're teaching them what you think you're worth. So my boundaries are also, a part of it is attached to who I am and what I am worth. And because I know I am worth something, I am saying I will not tolerate this.
I think somebody's saying here, a child's no. a child's no in a Ghanaian household will earn you a dirty slap. In our Caribbean household,
I'm Jamaican, so I think if I said no to my mum, I wouldn't have any teeth.
I think that we're talking about the no in terms of not you being a teenager at home, but you now being a woman. You're talking to other women, what you say to them, and you would say to other women. So don't think about yourself as the young girl in the Ghanaian household or the young girl in the Jamaican household or wherever. Think about yourself now, and what you're saying to women now is to set boundaries, and that no is a complete sentence.
But you don't need to wait until you get to our age to do that. So my daughter's a teenager, and I have to teach her that now, because it will save her a lot of pain for the future. Because when your boundaries, when you're able to move when people are able to move your boundaries from side to side, then they no longer take you seriously.
Can you give me a scenario as a woman where you would have to say no? Not a teenager, but as a woman.
So, just basic interactions with someone where it is unacceptable. The things that are coming out of their mouth, how they're speaking to you. Even you have, okay, so years ago I used to work, when I was younger, I had a job at McDonald's, and you had this manager that used to say, I will clock you out and make you work for free. And she used to tell all the staff that whenever you're probably not doing something right. And there was a day that she said to me, Philippa, I will clock you out and make you work for free. And I looked at her, I said, the minute you clock me out, I stop working. Because I don't work for free.
Yes. What she say? She went back and a couple of fries.
She looked at me and she stood there and then she just walked off. Now, I did not go into there to work for free. So you are really trying to push my boundaries around work. So when you're telling me you're going to clock me out and I'll work for free, no, honey, it doesn't work that way.
Can you still maintain boundaries, say the word no, and still remain an obvious believer, a follower of Jesus Christ?
Sorry, what do you mean? Tell someone no and you're still a follower?
Can you say, no, I'm not going to do that, and be firm on it, be firm with your boundaries and still be considered as a Christian?
Does God not have boundaries with us? Does all your prayers get answered? No. I get some big dirty no's from God, and I just have, and sometimes somewhere in the distant future I realize why, and there are some no's that I simply have to live with, and that is it.
Yes.
So I of course, Jesus, I'm certain Jesus said no. Yes. He said no to the Pharisees. Mm-hmm. Those were the first people he said no to. No, the way you're doing things is not
wrong.
Yes. No, that's not how you treat people. No. And Jesus had boundaries too, because he rested and he went into solitude. He went into solitude, where he reconnected with God. He would go away from them and he would pray by himself. Yeah. That was his boundaries. That was his time with God. He had boundaries too, even when he went to the lady at the well, because he didn't want to embarrass her in front of someone else. He didn't want to talk about all of her sins in front of everyone else. Yeah. He went spoke to her, and there was boundaries in his conversation, because he was God, and he could have said to you, I'm going to really kind of go Jamaican now. He could have really said to you, lady, why are you doing? How come you have so much man? Why you all want to do it? Why make you have so much man? He didn't. He maintained a boundary to maintain her dignity.
Her dignity.
He allowed her to have dignity in that conversation, and then set her on her way, because he spoke life into her, even though she herself was feeling lifeless, even though she probably had those thoughts in her head about the men. He probably knew she had those thoughts and didn't need to address that. So
I think we definitely can, because I think sometimes people associate passivity and they would consider it as meekness. In kind of opening the floodgates to your boundaries as a believer, like, okay, all right, I'm available, yes I will. So for example, you could face like burnout in the body of Christ, because you don't know how to have boundaries. Just, okay, I'll do that, and I'll do that to the detriment of your own self and your own family. So I was talking about, can that work within a spiritual context, within your faith context? Can you still have boundaries?
Well, if you're taking it from a faith context, there is no better example than Jesus. He had boundaries. He had lots of boundaries, and he rested. He stopped to prevent that burnout. He had boundaries. So yes, it is. I think in some cases, it is probably, I don't want to say sinful, but in some ways sinful. If you, in the same way when the prophet went to David and said, and gave him the story about when he took Uriah's wife, in some ways we are doing ourselves a disjustice, because when we engage with people and give and take the last that they have, and they are not giving that willingly, they are giving it because they are doing it from a fundamental that this is Christ-like, we are killing them. spiritually, mentally, emotionally.
And physically.
Exactly.
I'm contemplating on my past life.
We all have to, we all do. We all do.
We've all gone through it without being boundaried in specific places and then being burnt out and then being angry about it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And not being able to say no. And not being able to say no as a woman because you feel like, let me just bend a little bit, let me compromise sort of kind of, and then what's happening in the end. Do you know what I mean?
No, you need your boundaries to survive. You need your boundaries to navigate this world, because it says, someone says who you are, what you stand for, and what you think about yourself.
Let me write that down. Who you are.
What you stand for and what you think about yourself. Now, there are so many times that I have allowed people, and I say this from experience, to kind of just move my boundaries and say, oh, maybe this, and I make excuses. And in the end, this is what that does. Yes. You look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like yourself. Do not go into situations that allow you to not like yourself. Do not pursue things that even when you get it, you don't like yourself, because you have to live with you. So when you loosen your boundaries to accommodate someone, and then they cause you harm, then it impacts your confidence, it impacts your self-esteem, and you start to not like yourself. You start to not trust your own judgment. It's a ripple effect. It's a ripple effect that people don't understand, and what not having clear boundaries do.
I'm taking it in.
I remember being in a space where I said to the person, you bring the best out of me and the worst simultaneously. But the one thing I'm sure of is I don't like who I am around you. But the reason I got to that place was my boundaries weren't firm enough. Yeah. I kept shifting them, hoping for change. I kept shifting them, hoping for something to happen that was already inside me. I kept wanting something that I had already possessed, but no one told me, the younger me, that you were born with that.
Wow. It was already in you.
It was already in you.
Do you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking that sometimes there's a danger, especially for women as believers, that people have this thing where they want to speak into your life. And I find that sometimes crosses boundaries. That sometimes allows the ticket office person to fly all the way to the toilet in your business in the name of Jesus. And there's a scripture in Jeremiah that says, they prophesied, I didn't tell them to. They told you things I didn't instruct them to. And it's like, I would say, if I was also, it's your time to give the advice out to women, but I would say, be careful who you take guidance from, be careful who you take advice from, be careful of, you said, the intention and the impact, because it can be clothed in spiritual stuff, like, look, this is a message from the Lord, and it's like, actually, is it?
Exactly.
God told me I can have your boyfriend's mine. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
God told me you're supposed to give me that skirt.
So yeah. So it's knowing your boundaries. It's also understanding yourself, and it's knowing whether people have earned that right for the place that they're standing in, or they want to stand in, or they believe they should be in, because they may believe they should be in that space, but they haven't earned that right, and then they want to. I don't allow any. I will hear you out. Yes. And I will, okay. But it doesn't, I still have to see where that sits with me.
Yes, yes.
Where does it sit with me? And I think one of the things is that we are taught that, like you said, meek and humble. And what does that mean? I am a child of the Most High.
Yeah.
I am a child of God. God loves me. So that means I am special. Whether you want to believe it or not, I believe that I am special. Now, does that make me big-headed? No, that's a fact. As the
Yes,
young people, that's a fact.
the fact.
Well, if I use that to belittle others and to make others feel small, knowing that they are also a child of God, then I need humility. So there's I need humility, but
Yes.
not owning who I am when I was created in his own image is an insult to my creator.
Yes, yes. We're image bearers. If we forget that,
Exactly.
we're in a dangerous place. There's two comments here. It said, that's the question I ask myself when someone gives me advice and my spirit is uneasy with. You know, I feel that we the Lord Jesus left us the Holy Spirit. You know,
For a reason. For a reason. It's there for a reason.
And little people here and there are not your little Holy Spirits. Do you know what I mean? People
Exactly.
sometimes have good intentions, but you have to ask for discernment to learn how to work through that. Helen says here, yes, be very careful who you take guidance from. Also, prophecy comes to confirm with what God has already whispered in your spirit and what's already in his word.
Exactly, exactly. So, for instance, some people, are you going to take, so when you decide to take advice with someone, you have people with this ideology, this notion that God says he's my husband. He's married somebody else, moved on, and you're still waiting. God says he's your husband. And you will break up that marriage, and God says, now you're not going to be giving me advice around relationship because your moral and integrity is compromised.
Yes, yes. Speak it.
So what does your although God can use anybody, but what does your life and your actions tell me about you?
Mm-hmm.
And in the thing that you're advising me on, are they aligned? Is there an alignment with what you're telling me and who you are?
How much integrity does it hold? Does it?
Exactly. Is integrity key to you? Is integrity key to you? Because it's a core principle for me. So is it key to you? So when you're advising me on something, where is your integrity in it? If it's not a key principle in it, if it's not a key principle for you, then your advice won't align with my core principle. So that's the other thing. You need to know what your core principles are. What do you?
Your third point.
Well, I think it wasn't, but it's just going to go into it now.
But for the third one, it's
three. What are your core principles? What are the foundation that you sit on? For me, one of my core principles is integrity. It actually really bothers me when I'm around people and I see that they lack integrity.
In a modern world, what does integrity look like? Because back in the day, we could have looked at integrity with somebody having a very high college blouse, a big skirt, a hat, very softly spoken. What does integrity look like in 2020?
It's around doing the right thing, even when no one's looking. It's around being steadfast about the truth. It's about being, even if you're the only flag bearer, you hold it up and say, actually, this is what it is. It's around truth. It's around honesty. It's around loyalty. It's integrity is wrapped up with those principles.
I love that. I am looking at. That is your core principle. That's one of yours.
That's one of my core principles. So it's really around, if we put it simple, if you know you haven't earned something, but you go and so we have food banks. You're not hungry, you are not in need, but you will come and you will ask for a food voucher and you will go to the food bank and take something from someone who is actually in need. You lack integrity. Because you don't need it. There's a bit of dishonesty in there, but it's your integrity that is in question with that.
I'm letting it sit.
Yeah.
Another core principle. Give me another core principle of yours. So in before you do, in thinking about the core principles, I suppose that's something you've got to sit and reflect on, right? You got to understand what's important to you. So when you talk about core principles, breaking down in layman's terms, what these are the things that are important to you, or they're your foundation pillars?
What are the building blocks?
What are your building blocks
that you stand on? What are the building blocks that you stand on? What are you known for? So for me, like I said, one of them is integrity. Loyalty. Yeah, I think that's kind of self-explanatory. People that are just are quite fickle, that simply just jump from one thing to the other, and is loyal to the moment.
Yes.
I think some of it. I dare I say that some of the people that are on the Black Lives Matters movement is simply just there because it looks great. And they truly don't understand, because if you have some conversations with them, they will, the but, and literally, and I think people, sometimes we don't understand that if you are saying a sentence and once you say but, it simply means what I said before doesn't matter. This is really what I mean.
Yeah.
So they say, I really do understand that Black people are suffering, but, okay, so tell me what you mean.
Gone before, you've just undone it.
Exactly.
So you're talking about, as what you would say to women, what women need to know is to look at your core principles. What are your core principles? What are the building blocks that you stand on? That a few of those principles could be integrity, loyalty, honesty, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Yeah. So that is point number 3. We're going for the last one, point number 4.
I think your needs are a journey. Your needs are a journey. Some are static, but others are quite fluid. In terms of your basic needs will be there. So food, clothing, water. And some of them will be, at some point you will just need stability, and that is financial, emotional, mental, and spiritual stability. So those needs, as sometimes you acquire one, it drops off because you have a full understanding of that, and then it changes because you're growing. So in terms of even your needs, sometimes it not really align, but your needs sometimes mirrors your triggers. So what triggers you is sometimes the thing that you need. You don't need what triggers you. So for me, I have triggers around, let me give something simple. Say, for example, if I have triggers around abandonment,
yes,
my need is emotional stability.
Wow.
And that may change after a while, because as I become more as I'm with and engage with people who give me that stability that I need, I may move on to something else, because now I'm confident in that area. Yeah. I am confident, and that trigger, I'm able to identify it a lot more earlier, and it has a less impact on me. So your needs, it's a journey. It's a journey. It won't always be static, and you have to be prepared to do that journey.
So what you're saying is that your needs can change along the way, and that means some of them can be satisfied, and some of them you just get on with being dissatisfied with.
Yes. Your needs will change along the way. It's not can, it will. Wow. It will.
So give me a need that you had from age 21, which you no longer have the need for now at age 40 plus. And
they need to be validated by other people. I don't need I don't have a need to be validated by anyone else. I don't fear what other people think, because someone at some point in my life, I addressed why I had that fear, so that need is no longer there.
And that need, you recognize that you no longer needed it at what point, from 16 to when?
I recognized the need when I had to come face to face with it. I knew I no longer needed it. I knew it was no longer kind of a trigger for me when things happen that no longer triggered me.
Mm-hmm. So that means you said you would have dealt with it in a way then. So the issue then, therefore, of abandonment would have felt.
Yes, I would have had to do the work. I would have had to do some work. I would have had to do some kind of exploration, and come to terms with, okay, this is what it is, and this is where it stems from, and okay, what is it I need to do to fix this? And sometimes it's the relationship that we have with others. Sometimes it's simply that one-to-one work that you have to do with yourself.
What does that work look like? So if I have an issue of abandonment, I didn't grow up with my father, and I'm 16, and now I'm rolling on to the years, and this is still a need in my journey. How do I sit alone and deal with this need?
So there's therapy. You can go to therapy. There are books out there. You can look for literature that speak to that and read it. There is probably, if you can have that conversation with your father or whoever the parent is, and there is simply coming to terms and making peace with the situation that his abandonment didn't make you any less of the person that you are today. And his abandonment was more to do with what the issues he had rather than you.
Yeah. I like that. It takes it takes the edge off again.
Stop owning other people's actions, really.
Yeah.
Stop owning it. Stop owning people's behavior. So give it back to them. Okay, that's yours, take it. I cannot own your behavior and carry it like a bag lady, so it brings me down. No, I unpack it, see it for what it is, where there is work to be done. If it means that I have to engage in some kind of therapeutic session, or if it means that I just need to get clarity. So more around psycho education. So understanding what it means for me, and understanding how it shows up, how it presents itself in my life. Understanding what do I do when that is happening, and how do I respond to it? When I get a kind of clear understanding, it won't always be in full, but sometimes all you need is basic. All you need is an awareness of the issue, and then you can start doing the work that needs to be done on it.
You've said some beautiful stuff. I just want to recap here. What women need to know is that intention and impact do not always align.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, be careful what you say and how it lands, and the destruction that it can or cannot leave.
And people have to earn the right. People have to earn the right to certain parts of you, to get access to your stories.
And you gave that in an analogy of a theatre, from the ticket office all the way to the toilet, that we have different levels in relation. I added the toilet.
You added the toilet. Taking off all your clothes and everything, the changing room. The toilet.
And in the toilet, having your number 2, you have to earn the right to come all that way into my heart. Yes.
Exactly.
And then we spoke about setting boundaries. And no is a complete sentence. Yeah, and your boundaries. Your boundaries basically tells people how you view yourself, how you value yourself. So if they are easily moved, well, it means you don't take you seriously, so you cannot expect somebody else to. And you said here, your boundaries say who you are, what you stand for, and what you think about yourself.
Exactly. Yes.
Number 3, you said we have to look at what are our core principles. What are the building blocks that we stand on? What makes me me? What makes you you? And you spoke about stuff which is important to you was integrity. And that was one of your core building blocks where you stood on. And you also spoke about loyalty as well. I suppose there's many more that we didn't have time to discuss, but sit with yourself and look at what your core principles are. What do you stand on? What do people know you for? And then lastly, you said that your needs are a journey. They are static and fluid. And that has to go on one of our quotes. And that means that you also said that your needs mirror your triggers, which I get you to unpack. So for example, you said if the trigger was abandonment, if there was an issue of abandonment, then your need is emotional stability.
Correct, yes.
About issues of abandonment at age 16 when your father left or whatever. But by the time you hit 40, you find an emotional stability in another relationship. Or you do some work on the trigger of abandonment. Or you have some therapeutic or psychodynamic input on the abandonment issue.
Right. Right. Because that need sometimes in not addressing your needs or not knowing what your needs are, it sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I was gonna say something.
It's all right. It's all right. Someone says they love this. We're really grateful that you have tuned in today and that I've heard something unexpected. I didn't know you were gonna go to these 4 places. Do you know what I mean? It's given me, it feels like therapy. It's given me food for thought to even consider in my mid-40s and going up the mountain, that there are some things that I could still build on. I could still add to my core principles. I can still say no, grace, and be, and have my boundaries, and also be careful things at my mouth and how it lands.
Yeah, and I was about to say, so unaddressed needs sometimes mean, I think a lot of women will probably experience it, so maybe men, in that your relationship, the person is different, it's a different person, but they are the same. They're practically the same. So
again, what does that mean?
So it means that you go into you have different relationships with different people. So your partner, so for you, say the person you were with before Curtis or before that, they all had very similar traits. They all had very similar traits, but you kept having the same result in terms of it probably is highlighting a trigger. It probably is highlighting a wound, but that person. So what it is that you have merged with somebody who has the same wounds as you, and neither of you have the emotional capacity to service the need. So your relationships are just with the same person over and over, and then that's why
crabs in a barrel just taking each other down.
Yeah. So you attract because say you have the same abandonment issue.
Yeah.
But none of you have resolved that issue, and none of you are willing to work on that issue. So eventually that relationship will just burn out because you both so you cannot, so the same thing you need poured into you both need the same thing poured into each other, and neither of you have anything to pour.
So you have an unaddressed needs, an unmet need.
So both keep attracting the same person, so that need is unmet.
Yeah, look here. Helen said, absolutely, I see it. Unless you pass a test, you will keep having to retake the same tests.
Yes.
To go around the desert for 40 years when the journey should have really taken you 7 days. Do you know what I mean? So exactly. I'm conscious that we don't have much time, and I wanted you to tell us what you would say to your 30, no, you have a 14-year-old, but what you would say to 14-year-old Philippa? Really briefly, because I need you to pray for us.
Slow down. Life isn't passing you by. Enjoy the moments. invest in yourself. It is not selfish to put yourself first. Invest in yourself. The love you're looking for is you. Is you. Yeah, I think that's probably what I would tell my... Get in touch with your emotions. Anger is not the only emotion you have. I would really have to tell my younger self that. Please get in touch with your emotion. Anger is not the only emotion you have. It is a symptom of what is happening. It is a symptom. That's it. So go deeper, dig deeper. Dig deeper. If you get angry for everything, dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, we made our 16-year-old do that the other day. We said, but why? But why? Go a bit deeper. And they got frustrated for her. We were like, go deeper. And I was thinking, I wish I was you.
Yes.
Dad saying to me, go deeper.
Yes.
I avoided a lot. Do you know what I mean? A lot of heartache, a lot of stuff. If I had gone deeper, if I had a man standing there, a dad saying to me, go deeper.
Yes, I said to my daughter, and this is no kind of shade to my mom. She is fantastic, and she did a good job, and still is. But I wish I had kind of the mom that was emotionally kind of in tune.
Yourself. You wish your mummied yourself.
Yes. So I am remummying myself in some aspects. I am doing it. I'm doing it. And I'm even kind of, my mum is open enough for me to have certain conversations.
Yes, that's mine.
And can say, yeah, it takes her a little while. She'll say, you know that thing you spoke to me about? You were right.
You were right.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but that was not my intention.
That's beautiful. Somebody says here, you have to do the work and be truthful with the man in the mirror. Identify truthfully what you need to work on and what you will need to enhance your happiness from a partner. It says reflect and ask yourself questions. This has been very, 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 very refreshing.
You see that comment? The key word in that is someone says is about enhancing your happiness. Please know, people are in your life to enhance your happiness, not to make you happy. That work has to be done with you.
Wow. We've got a lot of work to do, ladies. And for the rest of the week, we're talking to two other beautiful women. Tomorrow is Ramona from Little Mother Suckers. She's coming on to talk to us tomorrow. And then we got beautiful Anita coming to talk to us. Anita's spoken to us twice already, and she made me bawl on this live. And we're talking about what they feel that women should know. But in ending, Philippa, it says here, just lastly, the last part we're going to take, it says, somebody says, love this. I love that you love it. It says here, come on, techno finger. It says here, it's probably, oh, come on, where you gone? It's probably why you're mothering the way you do. It means that you've learned and that you're intentional about doing better. That's a nice way to end. Which is good. So you've taken the lessons that you've learned from life, difficult ones, and you've taken it and modified the way that you're mothering now.
But I also have to remember that my daughter, isn't me. I keep having to remind her, even though I want to rewrite the scripts and make life different for her, I have to remember she's not me.
Yeah,
and I have to understand who she is and still love her on that level, not how I wanted to be loved, because that's not what she needs.
Yeah.
So I have to really look at what her needs are as well, and not want to just, I can't relive my life through her.
Oh, I was doing that. All right, well, it stops today then. It stops today. Philippa is a beautiful woman, and she's one of our elders, and she often takes us to the throne of grace very gracefully. So just to end this, I just want we have like literally 1 minute to just pray for the women who have been, and the men who have learned stuff, I hope, and the women on this live who hopefully have picked up some stuff that they can learn, sit with, chew on for their lives. They're saying thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, my daughter just came in and turned on her music. Sorry.
Pray
So,
quickly,
okay,
house explode.
let's do this. Okay. So thank you, Lord, for bringing us here today to have these conversations, for creating this space that we can be open and honest with each other. My prayer is is that as a generation we experience peace, clarity, and hope to continue our journeys. I pray for healing, and I pray that we are open to have the difficult conversation that brings peace, joy, love. I pray that we impart, as we learn, we impart wisdom, highs and lows on the younger generation to enable them to break cycles and create positive new ones. Pray that as we are mentored, we mentor others so they could reach their full potential. I ask that our dreams and our hopes are manifested, and that they are manifested beyond anything that we could even imagine or ask for.
Yeah.
Amen.
Praise God in Jesus' name. We are so grateful for your time. I know you're a busy woman. Work is in the morning. Teenage daughter has to get to bed eventually. And we were so grateful for your presence. It was a beautiful session, and I've learned so much, even in my old age. And everybody has said thank you. They needed this. Amen. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I'm going to shout this now.
Learning is something you do every day, and we will learn until the day we take our last breath.
Yeah, we're always learning. I've learned so much today. Thank you for your time and your presence.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Don't forget tomorrow, we have little Mother Suckers coming on to join us. She's a mum of 3 children under 5. I don't know how you do that. Anyway, she is. And she's coming on to tell us what women need to know. And then the day after that, we got Anita coming on. Anita's been on with us before and has dropped some beautiful gems and just ways to go forward and ways to learn and grow as a woman. Last week we had what men need to know. This week, women, we are doing, I think we're going even deeper, mate. I think we're building blocks here. We're letting people take stuff away that they can go home and work on. Do you know what I mean? So that's what we're doing. This will be on YouTube, I think in about 48 hours, because we're a little bit inundated at the moment. Our YouTube channel is This Is Marriage, and it has loads of videos on there for the past 4 years about relationships, and we put every live that we do here. We've had some good topics. We put them on our Instagram. From the Instagram live, we put them onto YouTube. So like, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And I'm going to shout my husband because I don't know how to end this thing. Cut! Help me end this, please. Help me end this so I don't lose it. Guys, we love you and we thank you so much for joining us and participating and helping us out. See, I got to call the man back to help me lock this off without losing it, please. Take care. Bye.